The word scapegoat is in your vocabulary. You've used it. You've heard it. You think you know what it means. You don't. Because this word has a name behind it, a specific name, a terrifying name. And that name is Azazel. And once you understand what Azazel actually is, and what was done in his name for centuries, you will never hear that word again without feeling something crawl across your skin. This is not metaphor. This is not folklore. This is a biological ritual, carried out on the holiest day of the year, at the edge of the desert, at the boundary between the human world and something far older. And it begins with 2 goats. Chapter 1. The Silent Offering. Picture the ancient world on its most sacred day, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The air over the Israelite camp is not holy, it is heavy, suffocating with a primal dread that has no name but presses down on every chest in the camp. A nation holds its breath, their spiritual fate is suspended like a blade above their heads. At the center of it all, a high priest prepares to enter the one place on earth where the presence of God was said to dwell, the Holy of Holies. But first, a different kind of ceremony must take place. 2 goats are brought before him. They are nearly identical, chosen for their similarity, as if they are 2 halves of a single, horrifying decision. They stand unnaturally still, their animal instincts silenced by the sheer weight of what is about to happen. One will be offered to God, its life poured out as a symbol of purification. But the other is for Azazel. Chapter 2. A Name in the Void. The high priest holds 2 lots. One is inscribed for the Lord. The other bears a name that has no place in Holy Scripture. Yet there it is, carved into stone. For Azazel. He casts them, and in that single moment, destiny fractures. 2 names spoken as equals, one sacred, one profane. This is not merely a ritual of cleansing. It is a transaction. The goat chosen for the Lord is offered, its life given to restore what is right. But the second goat, the one that now belongs to Azazel, is brought forward. The high priest places both hands on the creature's head, and then he begins. Not a quiet prayer, not a formality. Every sin of the nation passes through his lips. Every act of violence, every secret betrayal, every fragment of corruption accumulated across the past year. And with each word spoken, something transfers into the animal. Something tangible. Something that should not exist inside a living thing. The goat does not run, it shudders. Its eyes cloud over with a weight that does not belong to it. It has become a vessel, a walking container of disease, and it is not being released. It is being sent, addressed, and delivered to Azazel. This is where the ceremony crosses into something else. Because the wilderness into which the goat is led is not simply an empty place. It is not a void. It is a destination. It is the address on the package. Chapter 3. The Angel of Scars. For centuries, scholars tried to soften the horror. They suggested that Azazel simply meant the goat that goes away, an scapegoat. A clean, comfortable interpretation. A lie. The ancient grammar does not permit it. The goat is sent to Azazel. There is a recipient. There is an entity waiting at the other end. Ancient tradition knew Azazel as a powerful demon haunting the desolate places. But to understand the true terror, you must open a book that was erased from most Holy Scripture. A text considered so dangerous it was kept buried for centuries. The Book of Enoch. Enoch tells us what Azazel truly was. He was a Grigori, a watcher, a high-ranking angel placed at the edge of creation to guard the new human race. But the Watchers did not guard, they descended. They took human wives. Their children were the Nephilim, immense broken beings whose violence fractured the foundations of the world. But Azazel's crime went deeper than any of them. He was not merely a fallen angel, He was a teacher of corruption. The Book of Enoch tells us that Azazel taught humanity the craft of violence, the specific technical knowledge of how to arm themselves for bloodshed, and he taught the art of concealment. How to reshape the face, how to stain the skin so that the true self is hidden beneath something beautiful on the outside and hollow on the inside. He gave humanity the tools to destroy each other. He gave humanity the tools to deceive each other, and the Book of Enoch delivers its verdict in a single line that has never lost its weight. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. Chapter 4, the source of the sickness. For this betrayal, Azazel's punishment was absolute. He was not simply cast out, he was unmade. The archangel Raphael was commanded to seize him, bind him hand and foot, and cast him into a pit of total darkness, buried beneath a mountain of jagged, sharp rock in the most barren, desolate place on earth. He is not chained to the stone. The stone is his prison, a living tomb that seals over him the way a wound closes over an infection, trapping whatever is inside. And suddenly, the ritual snaps into terrifying focus. The wilderness is not an empty landscape. It is Azazel's cell. The goat is not being abandoned to the elements. It is being delivered, carrying a full load of human corruption directly to the being who first seeded it into the world. Every year on the Day of Atonement, the high priest gathers the accumulated rot of an entire nation. Every act of violence, every spoken lie, every shred of vanity that Azazel had originally taught, and loads it onto a trembling animal, then sends it back. This was not symbolism. This was a verdict, a cosmic accounting, a declaration that the corruption burdening humanity did not begin with humanity. It was taught, and now it was being returned. Chapter 5. Return to sender. Later traditions give us one final detail, and it is unforgettable. A man would lead the burdened goat 12 miles from Jerusalem to a specific, jagged cliff at the far edge of the wilderness. A crimson thread was tied to the animal's horns, its other half left behind, still fixed to the stone at the temple, the color of raw flesh, the color of an open wound that has not yet closed. At the edge of the cliff, the goat was cast over, down into the ravine below. The delivery was complete. The package had arrived, and what happened next, according to tradition, was not supposed to be possible. The crimson thread left behind at the temple, still tied to the stone, would begin to change. Not fade, not wear. It would drain, pulling from deep red down to stark, clean white, in the very moment the goat reached the ground below. A sign, an indicator. The infection had been cut out. The fever had broken. The nation's spiritual body was clean for another year. The sins had been returned to sender. The word scapegoat is the scar left behind by this ritual. It has traveled across thousands of years, stripped of everything that made it terrifying, until it became nothing more than an expression, a figure of speech for someone who takes undeserved blame. But now you know what it actually was. The goat for the Lord shows the path of atonement. The goat for Azazel shows something older, something colder. Some things cannot be forgiven. They can only be cut out and sent back to the darkness from which they came. So tell me, what do you think Azazel is? A memory from a more superstitious age? A metaphor for the inherited darkness inside us all? Or something real, still buried, still waiting, beneath the desert floor? Leave your theory in the comments. I read everyone, and if you want more truths hidden beneath the oldest stories ever told, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we are just getting started.